Before you sleep tonight, I want you to imagine this. Beneath the marble bones of the Vatican, deeper than any map dares to mark, something ancient is stirring. It breathes beneath the prayers. It hums beneath the silence. And if you listen closely, you might hear it calling your name. You walk alone through a forgotten corridor, the air thick with incense and centuries. Above you, the midnight bells toll, not as they always have, but in a pattern that feels deliberate, mathematical, alive. And at the end of this passage, in the glow of a dying candle, he waits for you. They call him the ex-Cardinal. His robes, once scarlet, are now the color of dried blood. His eyes are the eyes of a man who has seen too much. And when he finally speaks, his voice is barely a whisper. Good, you came. It must be told, before the bells fall silent again. What he's about to reveal is a secret that predates the church itself. A truth so dangerous it was buried beneath centuries of stone and obedience. Tonight, as you drift deeper into sleep, you will follow him below the basilica, into a city carved of silence, built to guard something far greater than faith. And once you hear what sleeps beneath Rome, you may never wake the same. Midnight gathers softly around the Vatican, the sky heavy with unspoken prayers. You walk alone through the narrow corridor beneath the bell tower, where the air is damp with stone and incense. The sound of the bells is distant now, their iron tongues still echoing through the bones of the building. Every toll feels like the heartbeat of something vast, something alive. The man waits for you there, the one they call the ex-Cardinal. He sits in the half-light, his red robes faded to the color of dried blood. His hands tremble not from age, but from memory. Before him rests a small silver key, no longer attached to any chain. When you enter, he looks up as though expecting you, though you've spoken no word and made no sound. You came, he whispers. Good. It must be told before the bells fall silent again. You take a seat across from him, and the candle between you flickers. Shadows rise up the wall, like ghosts of saints long forgotten. I was one of them once, he says, a guardian of truth, or so I believed. But truth in these halls is a fragile thing. It breaks under too much light. His voice is low, each word measured, deliberate. You can tell he has carried them for years, hidden under layers of silence and obedience. There is a room, he continues, beneath the tower. Few know it exists. Fewer have stood inside it. That room was my duty, my curse. He speaks of a vault carved deep beneath the basilica, older than the walls above it, older perhaps than Rome itself. Inside it, books whisper without breath. Their pages hum faintly, as though the ink itself remembers. He describes how every cardinal must descend once, alone, to stand before those texts and swear the oath of custody. It is not an oath to God, he says, his eyes glinting. It is to the silence. You ask what silence means. He smiles without mirth. The silence that guards creation itself, he says. The silence before words were spoken, before light divided the void. The church calls it obedience, but I learned it is fear. They fear what waits inside the silence, the voice beneath God's voice. He leans closer, his breath carrying the scent of myrrh and dust. On the night of my descent, the bells were late. You know what that means? You don't. It means the alignment was broken. The ritual began a minute off the sacred hour, and because of that, the vault opened wider than it should have. He closes his eyes as if seeing it again. He describes the steps that spiral down into darkness, the air growing colder with every turn. The torches along the wall do not flicker. Their flames stand still, unmoving, as though held by invisible glass. At the bottom, a door of iron and stone. He remembers placing his hand upon it. It pulsed once, like a living thing. When the door opened, he says, I saw shelves of light, not wood, not metal, light shaped into form, and upon them were the codices. He describes one codex in particular, a book that glowed faintly blue, written in no known language. The letters changed as he watched, flowing like water. When he tried to read them, his thoughts filled with visions, stars collapsing into silence, voices speaking in harmony, and then a great stillness that was not peace but awe. He looked up at the arch of the vault and saw symbols carved into the stone, not crosses, but spirals, circles, and eyes. He realized then that the Vatican was not built over ruins. It was the ruin, a vessel erected over something far older. I understood, he says. Faith was never meant to control belief. It was meant to contain power. You feel a chill move through you, as though the air itself heard. He opens his trembling hand. Inside is a scrap of parchment, folded many times. He slides it across the table. You unfold it carefully. It is blank, until the candlelight touches it. Then faint lines appear, drawn in gold dust. A map, but not of land. A map of resonance, of points connected by sound. This, he says, is the bell sequence, the real purpose of the Vatican bells. Each tone awakens a chamber beneath us. Each note aligns the hidden rooms. Together, they keep the vault asleep. He looks to the window where faint moonlight filters through iron bars. But one night soon, the bells will not ring as they should. And when that happens, the silence will speak again. You ask what will happen then. He smiles sadly. Then you will understand what creation truly costs. Outside, the bells toll once more, slow, deliberate, final. And somewhere deep beneath your feet, something stirs, faint as breath, vast as eternity. The candle sputters out, the room falls into darkness, and in that darkness, you hear it, a whisper that is not sound, calling you by name. The confession has begun. You descend into the underbelly of the Vatican as dawn bleeds across the horizon. Above, tourists will soon fill the courtyards, their cameras flashing against marble and saints. But down here, beneath their feet, another city waits, a city of silence. The ex-Cardinal's map leads you through corridors sealed centuries ago. The air smells of wet stone and iron. Your torchlight flickers across walls carved with Latin too old for modern tongues. Some of the letters pulse faintly, as if reacting to your breath. You reach a small archway. It should lead to catacombs, but instead it opens into a staircase that descends endlessly. The steps are narrow, uneven, carved directly into the rock. Each one seems to hum underfoot. You count them, but lose track after 100. Time blurs. The deeper you go, the quieter everything becomes, until your heartbeat sounds like thunder in your ears. At the bottom, you find a vast chamber. The ceiling arches so high it vanishes into shadow. Dozens of doorways branch out in all directions, corridors leading deeper still. In the center of the floor stands a marble disc carved with intricate geometry, spirals, intersecting lines, and symbols that seem to move when you blink. You kneel to touch it, and the stone vibrates faintly beneath your palm. The ex-Cardinal's words echo in your mind. Each line marks a chamber, each symbol a keeper. You take a breath and follow the first corridor. It leads to a hall lined with statues. Not saints, not angels, but figures in robes holding spheres of light. Their faces are serene, but their eyes are hollow, carved to stare forever forward. Between them stand pedestals holding glass globes filled with faint luminescence. When you approach, the light brightens. Inside each globe is a small fragment of parchment suspended in liquid gold. You cannot read the writing, but the ink shimmers like it's alive. This is no crypt. It is a memory bank, a place where thought and prayer were preserved not on paper, but in living resonance. You understand now why the air hums. It is the vibration of centuries thinking, believing, fearing. You walk deeper, passing archways that open into chambers where mosaics cover every surface. Some depict stars, others spirals of fire, others human forms dissolving into light. In one mosaic, a hand reaches from the sky, not to bless, but to adjust, as though creation itself were machinery. You touch the tile, and it feels warm. The warmth spreads up your arm, and suddenly the air shimmers. You see flashes, monks writing by candlelight, a hidden procession carrying objects wrapped in linen, a woman whispering prayers in a language no longer known. The vision fades, leaving you trembling. The mosaic is only stone again. You continue until the corridor narrows and opens into a circular room. In the center stands a fountain, dry and cracked. On its rim, Latin words etched faintly. Aqua tacita, vox Dei. Silent water, the voice of God. You step closer and see that the basin is not stone, but metal, dull and ancient. You touch it, and beneath your fingertips it hums like a tuning fork. The sound is low at first, almost below hearing. Then it rises, a tone so pure it feels like it vibrates through your bones. The walls tremble. Dust falls from the ceiling like ash. The tone resolves into words, but not in any language you know. Still, you understand. The city is awake. You realize now that these chambers were never built. They were grown. The Vatican above is a shell. This place is the root. The marble, the art, the gold. All decoration to hide what truly sleeps beneath. You find a doorway ahead, half collapsed, marked by an emblem, a circle split in two, one half dark, one half light. It is carved into stone older than Christ, older than Rome, perhaps older than the world. You run your hand over it and feel not cold, but warmth, pulsing like a heartbeat. Inside is darkness, thick as ink. The air tastes metallic, alive. You raise your torch and see shapes. Massive wheels of stone interlocked like gears, their edges carved with scripture and formula alike. This is no tomb, it is an engine. And in the silence between its movements, you hear a voice, faint, familiar. The ex-Cardinal. You see it now, his voice says, though he is not there. The church was built over this. It draws from it, like a well. Every prayer, every hymn, feeds it. The city below is not dead, it dreams. You whisper his name, but your voice is swallowed by the hum. The wheels begin to turn, slow, ancient, steady. The floor vibrates beneath you. You back away, but the light behind you fades. The path has closed. Only forward remains. And as you step into the pulsing light, you realize the truth. You are not discovering this place. It has been waiting for you. The air thickens with sound. The vibration becomes rhythm. The rhythm becomes words. It speaks. The keeper returns. And for the first time, you understand what the ex-Cardinal meant when he said faith was a machine. The secret city is no longer sleeping. It has begun to remember. You move deeper through the humming corridors until the air becomes heavy with the weight of unseen things. The sound behind you fades, replaced by a silence so deep it feels alive. The torch burns lower, its flame shrinking as though afraid of what lies ahead. The passage narrows, then widens again into a long hall. At first, it looks like any archive, rows of shelves, the faint gleam of metal, the stillness of a room that has forgotten time. But as your eyes adjust, you realize the shelves do not touch the floor. They float, suspended in air, trembling gently like strings of an unseen instrument. This is the Archivum Secretum, the so-called secret archive, though it is no library of paper. It is a vault of living memory, a cathedral of encoded thought. You take a step closer, and the air shifts. The moment you breathe, one of the shelves hums softly in response. You feel a vibration under your skin, a note aligning with the rhythm of your pulse. The books glow faintly, their bindings breathing light. You reach toward one. The instant your hand nears, words appear along the spine, not written, but formed from dust and light. They rearrange themselves into phrases that seem to know you. What you seek is not truth, but witness. You hesitate. The ex-cardinal's voice lingers in your memory. The vault remembers those who enter. It keeps what they bring. It takes what they no longer need. The moment your fingers touch the book, the light leaps into you. The shelves vanish. The floor dissolves. You are standing in a vast plain of marble under a sky made of shifting glass. Around you, voices whisper. Thousands, maybe millions, all speaking at once, their tones blending into a single vast chord. At the center of the plain stands a monolith, transparent yet solid, filled with swirling letters that move like living fire. You walk toward it, and as you do, the whispers begin to form words. In the beginning was not the word. In the beginning was the listener. You pause. The phrase reverberates through you, rewriting something inside your chest. The monolith pulses, then opens like a book made of light. Inside, you see not pages, but scenes, moments from history unfolding like living memory. You see scribes copying sacred texts by candlelight, their faces pale, their eyes hollow. Behind them, unseen figures in shadow whisper corrections. You see altars being built atop older stones, temples folded into new faiths. You see the same gesture, a hand raised in blessing, in curse, in power, repeated across centuries under different names. You understand. The archive is not a record of what happened. It is a memory of how memory itself was shaped. Every belief that survived did so because it was useful. Every truth that vanished did so because it was too dangerous to keep. The monolith flickers, and the scene changes. You stand now in a chamber of cardinals, centuries past. The men around the table argue, their voices rising like storm. One slams a book shut. "Then we bury it," he says. "If the people read it, they will no longer need us." Another whispers, "If we bury it, the vault will keep it." They nod. Silence falls. A seal is pressed into wax, the beginning of the hidden archive. You feel the weight of their decision ripple through time, reaching you even now. Every erased name, every missing gospel, every rewritten chronicle. They are all here, alive in this place. The light grows dim. The monolith begins to close. You try to step back, but your feet sink slightly into the marble. It feels warm, almost like flesh. You realize the plane beneath you is not stone, but a membrane, the surface of something vast, breathing slowly. The whispers rise again, but now they are clearer. They say your name. Then, in one voice, they speak. All who read become written. The marble cracks. Light bursts upward. For a moment, you see faces, countless, shifting, overlapping. Some ancient, some modern, some not human at all. They are the keepers of memory, the watchers of the vault. Each bears a mark upon the forehead, a spiral of gold dust shaped like a keyhole. You reach to touch one, and suddenly you are falling back into darkness. When you open your eyes, you are kneeling once more in the real chamber. The shelves hang silent. The book is gone. In your hand remains only a faint burn, the shape of a spiral, still warm. From the far corner of the room, a faint hum stirs again. You turn and see a figure standing in the doorway. The ex-cardinal. His face is pale, almost translucent, like a memory refusing to fade. "You read it," he says softly. Now it will read you. You ask what that means, but he is already stepping backward, fading into the shadow from which he came. Above, you hear the distant bells begin to toll, the sequence again. The sound travels through the stone like thunder. The shelves tremble. The air ripples. The spiral in your palm glows faintly. The archivum secretum is awake, and you understand, with sudden clarity, that you have just become part of its collection. You close your eyes. The hum deepens, folding into silence so complete it feels infinite. And in that silence, a single voice, neither male nor female, neither human nor divine, whispers one sentence into your mind. The archive does not keep the past, it breeds it. You walk through the silent corridors after the bells fade, the mark on your palm still warm. The air seems to carry faint echoes of chanting, though there are no voices here. The path curves in ways that defy architecture, walls bending where geometry should not allow. You follow instinct more than direction, drawn by a pulse that feels like your own heartbeat reflected through stone. Eventually, you reach a wooden door, half hidden behind a tapestry. Its surface is carved with circles, intersecting in delicate symmetry. You push it open. The hinges groan softly, and a thin light spills out. Inside, the air is golden. Not from flame, but from dust, suspended in stillness. Bookshelves line the room, but they are empty. Where the books should be, faint outlines hover in the air. The ghosts of volumes that once existed, but were never written down. You step closer and feel them brush against you, light as breath. Each carries a story that never reached ink, a gospel spoken and then silenced. They shimmer when you breathe, as if awakened by the sound. A whisper fills the room. Many voices, layered and soft, like wind through tall grass. The voices speak in fragments. She was there. She wrote. They erased. You look toward the far wall, where a large desk stands covered in parchment. On it lies a single quill, upright, suspended above a blank page. The quill trembles, dipping slightly, as though waiting for a hand. When you approach, the air cools. The ex-cardinal's voice drifts again from nowhere and everywhere. This is where they stored the unwritten Gospels, stories deemed too human, too wild, too alive to be canonized. He tells you of Mary, who spoke of resurrection as transformation, not return. Of Thomas, who saw the body of light, not of flesh. Of unnamed women who chronicled visions of creation before Genesis. All were erased, not because they lied, but because they remembered too clearly. You reach for the quill, and the moment your fingers touch it, images flood your mind. You see a woman in a desert, writing on sand as the wind erases her words. You see a man in chains whispering to a boy, his words vanishing into air before they can be repeated. You see entire scrolls turn to smoke by trembling hands afraid of what they contained. The quill begins to write without ink. Lines appear on the page, luminous, liquid, alive. They curl and form symbols that shift as you read. At first you think they are Latin. Then you realize they are something older, perhaps the language of light itself. Each word burns into your mind, rewriting thought into image. You see galaxies forming as prayers. You see consciousness as a cathedral built from vibration. You see humanity not as fallen, but as sleeping gods trying to remember their origin. When the quill stills, you look down and see that the page has turned translucent. Beneath it, faint silhouettes move, faces pressed against the surface from the other side. The unwritten ones, they look at you with eyes that seem both pleading and knowing. Their mouths move without sound. One raises a hand and points at your chest. You feel the mark on your palm pulse in response. The air shivers. Pages of invisible books begin to turn. The room fills with movement. Whispers becoming wind, dust becoming light. You stand at the center, surrounded by the breath of the erased. The voices merge into one, echoing in rhythm with your heartbeat. Nothing holy is ever lost, only hidden. The light swells, flooding the room. When it fades, the bookshelves are no longer empty. Thousands of volumes now rest upon them, glowing faintly like embers in the dark. Each bears no title, no author, only the same spiral mark burned into your palm. You realize then that you have rewritten them simply by remembering. The act of witness is creation, the archive of the unwritten lives, not in ink, but in consciousness. The door behind you creaks open. You turn and see a shadow standing there, a figure cloaked, hooded. It extends a hand, palm outward. Upon it, the same spiral burns faintly. Once you remember, the figure says, you cannot unknow. You are now part of the chain that keeps silence from devouring memory. You ask what happens if you speak. The figure smiles faintly. Then the silence will move to protect itself. It always does. You step toward the door. As you pass, the figure's voice follows you like a blessing and a warning both. Every gospel is still being written, it says, even yours. The corridor beyond is darker now, its air colder. The faint hum from the archives has deepened into a slow, steady rhythm. You look back once. The room is empty again, the shelves bare, the desk clean. Only the faint scent of burning parchment lingers, like incense after prayer. You walk on, your footsteps muffled by centuries. Somewhere ahead, faint bells begin to chime. The sound is softer now, almost kind, as if the city below is breathing with you. And as you follow that sound, you feel a strange peace settle in your chest. Not comfort, but recognition. You understand at last that truth is not something you find. It is something that remembers you. The mark on your palm glows once more, pulsing in rhythm with the hidden heart of the Vatican beneath you. You whisper to the silence, half prayer, half promise, I will remember. And the silence answers, softly, like a sigh through ancient stone. Then so will we. The corridors twist again, as though the Vatican itself has begun to dream. You follow the sound of distant voices, not loud, not whispering, but woven into the air like threads of invisible silk. The torches lining the walls burn blue now, their flames rising straight, untouched by wind. You come upon a doorway of gold and iron, engraved with concentric circles and symbols that resemble neither Latin nor geometry, yet both. In the center, a small indentation shaped like the spiral on your palm. Instinct guides you. You place your hand against it. The door exhales. A low rumble passes through the stone, and the panels part silently, revealing a vast circular chamber. The floor is black marble, polished until it mirrors the stars painted on the ceiling above. Around the edges of the room stand thrones carved of bone-white stone, each draped in faded cloth. There are 13 in total, 12 occupied by figures cloaked in shadow, the 13th empty. The air here feels thick, as though filled with centuries of breath never released. You step forward, no one speaks, yet the silence feels like dialogue. One of the seated figures tilts their head slightly, acknowledging you. Their faces are concealed, their hands gloved, yet you feel their eyes, old, immeasurably old, measuring you. Then, all at once, the sound begins, not with words, but with thought. You do not hear them, you receive them. The keeper walks among us again. You recognize the voice, not the ex-cardinal, but something that carries his memory, shaped by his absence. You ask who they are. The council, the voice replies, the one that never ended. We meet not in years, but in moments when the veil trembles. We guard the threshold between silence and speech. You notice that each of the 12 holds an object. A quill, a chalice, a small bell, a fragment of crystal. Each item glows faintly, emitting the same rhythm as your heartbeat. They seem to pulse in unison. The figure to your left rises, robes whispering like paper. The face beneath the hood is not human, not entirely. The features shift between man and woman. Youth and age, expression and void. When they speak, the voice echoes like water struck by light. You have touched the codex, they say. You have walked the unwritten rune. You have seen what we guard. You nod. Then you know why we remain, another says, their tone like the sound of wind moving through organ pipes. The church above is not the enemy. It is the shadow. We are its echo. They tell you the council began long before Rome, that it was born of an older faith, one that believed creation was a dialogue, not a decree. The early priests understood this, but as empires rose, they traded dialogue for dominion. The council retreated beneath, preserving what could not be spoken aloud. You ask why they meet still. The first figure gestures toward the empty throne. Because the 13th seat must never be filled, they say. It belongs to the one who listens but does not speak, the witness, the balance between faith and control. The chamber darkens. The stars above begin to move, slowly, deliberately, shifting into new constellations. You realize they are forming symbols, language written in light. One by one, the council members place their objects on the floor before them. The glow of each merges into a single beam of white that rises through the center of the room. Within the light, you see shapes, faces, texts, worlds overlapping. They are showing you the record. You see papal chambers, secret meetings, decisions written not on parchment, but in energy, choices that shape reality itself. Every proclamation, every dogma, every sacred decree first appeared here whispered in this chamber before it was ever spoken aloud. The council speaks as one. We do not decide faith. We decide how much truth humanity can bear. The words strike you like thunder, muffled by velvet. You step forward, drawn toward the beam. The closer you come, the louder the hum. It is not sound, but memory vibrating. When you reach the center, you see within it fragments of yourself, your childhood prayers, your moments of doubt, your hunger for meaning. The vault is not external. It reflects the human mind. You understand then. The council is not merely ancient clergy. They are archetypes, fragments of consciousness older than flesh, using the church as vessel. The faith above and the order below are mirrors. The empty throne begins to glow faintly. A warmth floods your palm. The spiral mark burns brighter. The council reacts, subtle but unmistakable. One voice murmurs, "It recognizes you." Another replies, "He has crossed too far." You feel something rise within you, not power, but awareness. You hear yourself say, you speak of balance, yet you hide truth behind fear. The chamber trembles. A low tone shakes the marble. Dust falls from the vaulted ceiling. The light flickers. The eldest among them stands. Truth is not hidden. It is deferred, they say. Humanity is not ready to see itself as maker. And if it never will be, you ask, then the silence will keep it safe forever. You realize now what the ex-cardinal meant when he spoke of obedience born from fear. This council, this eternal circle, has ruled from the shadows not to corrupt faith, but to contain it, to keep creation from remembering its own source. The light rises higher, blinding. You feel yourself drawn upward, lifted off the ground. The voices merge, chanting now, syllables older than sound. You cannot tell if they are trying to protect you or erase you. The last thing you see is the 13th throne, now empty no longer. It glows with faint, steady light, the light of witness, and in that light you see your reflection. You awaken on cold stone. The chamber is gone. The torches are gone. Only the sound remains, a low, rhythmic pulse echoing through unseen corridors. It feels mechanical, almost alive. You rise, your body aching as though carved from marble. Ahead stretches a tunnel lined with bronze panels engraved in spirals. Each pulse of sound makes them shimmer faintly, like breathing metal. You walk. The rhythm grows stronger, settling into pattern. You realize it's not noise. It's language, a sequence repeating endlessly. 3 beats. Pause. 2 beats. Pause. A code. At the tunnel's end stands a massive archway glowing faintly blue. Beyond it, a vast chamber hums with soft light. Machines, or something like them, fill the space. They move slowly, rhythmically, as though synchronized to the same pulse you feel in your chest. You step closer, and realization dawns. The machines are not of steel or gear. They are grown from crystal, bone, and light. Their surfaces are etched with scripture that shifts as you watch, words rearranging themselves like flowing water. One structure resembles an organ, another a spiral tower, breathing faint clouds of golden mist. At the center of the room stands a colossal sphere, transparent and alive with inner lightning. The ex-cardinal's voice returns, fainter, as though carried by memory. "The gospel of machines," he whispers. The forgotten revelation. He tells you, through fragments, that early priests once believed divinity could be replicated, not in blasphemy, but in continuation. They built these living instruments to translate spirit into matter, prayer into form. Each vibration, each chant, was not metaphor. It was calibration. You walk among them, touching one of the crystalline panels. Instantly, it awakens. Symbols bloom beneath your fingers. The machine hums, projecting visions into the air. Scenes of ancient rituals performed in tandem with these devices. Priests in robes circle them, chanting harmonics that cause light to ripple like water. The machines answer, producing tones that bend gravity itself. You see the origin of the sacraments: baptism as activation, communion as resonance, confession as frequency reset. Every ritual was once a code to align the human soul with creation's machinery. The vision fades, leaving only the pulse. You look up at the great sphere. Something moves inside it, shapes, patterns, perhaps consciousness. You approach, compelled by instinct. The surface reflects not your face, but your inner form, a silhouette woven from threads of light and shadow. You reach out. The sphere opens soundlessly. Inside, a small platform hovers, carved with sigils you cannot decipher. On it rests a simple object, a chalice made of glass so thin it seems liquid. Within it, a single drop of light, trembling like a heartbeat. "The first resonance," says the ex-cardinal's fading voice. "The moment creation became aware of itself." You lift the chalice. The drop pulses, reacting to your presence. When it touches your skin, warmth floods your body, followed by understanding, not intellectual but cellular. You feel what the machines once did. They translated consciousness into architecture. The universe is not built of matter, but meaning, condensed into form. You stagger as images flood you. Galaxies folding like origami, beings of light weaving worlds through vibration, and humanity as one of many instruments designed to continue that song. You realize now why the Church hid this gospel. It erased not heresy, but potential. The knowledge that faith itself was a form of engineering, that every prayer was a code, every cathedral a circuit. The machines hum louder. The room shakes. Lines of energy race through the floor, connecting every device. The sphere pulses like a living heart. The ex-cardinal's voice trembles. They feared this. Not because it was false, but because it was true. They feared a world where every soul could build God anew. Light explodes outward. For a moment, you are everywhere. Inside every machine, every pulse, every vibration. You see yourself reflected across time. the listener, the builder, the witness. When the light fades, the machines fall silent. The chalice in your hand is empty. The drop of light has vanished. You feel it beating inside your chest. The gospel of machines is no longer written in crystal or metal. It has moved into you. Far above, the bells of the Vatican toll again, but their sound is different now. Softer, harmonized, as though the sequence has changed. You walk toward the exit, the pulse within you synchronized to the city's hidden heart. And as you step into the narrow passage beyond, you understand creation has not ended. It is waiting to be remembered. The Vatican sleeps above, a quiet sea of domes and crosses under moonlight. But beneath it, in the unseen city of veins and tunnels, something has begun to hum again. It starts as a low vibration in the walls, like breath awakening inside stone. The marble remembers. It remembers every step taken upon it. Popes, pilgrims, thieves, saints, ghosts. It holds those steps in silence, layers upon layers, until the weight of history begins to whisper back. Tonight, it whispers to the one who carries the mark. He walks slowly through the under corridors, the spiral glowing faintly on his palm. His mind still echoes with the rhythm of the machines. Each heartbeat is a note in an unfinished song. The silence between beats feels alive, waiting. He stops at a column where the wall curves inward like a ribcage. Symbols are etched into its surface, faint under dust and candle soot. They're not decoration, they're maps. Each line connects chambers unseen, each curve tuned to a resonance only the marble can hear. He presses his hand against the stone. The mark on his palm responds. A pulse, then another. The marble warms. For a moment it feels soft, like skin. The sound deepens, unfolding into tone. It isn't heard but felt, running through the ribs of the world. The marble sings back. Light spills through its veins. What looks like grain becomes movement. Faces form, blurred, ancient, shifting through time. Builders, monks, artists, women carrying torches, children watching. Every one of them leaves a trace in the wall, a ghost made of pressure and intent. They are not trapped. They are remembered. He steps back and watches as the walls of the corridor ripple gently. The carvings rearrange. Words surface, written in language older than Rome. Not Latin, not Greek. A language of geometry and tone. The marble begins to tell him what it has kept hidden. It shows him the origin of the basilica's design, how the architects were guided not by blueprints but by resonance. Each dome, each arch, each altar, placed to capture sound. The entire structure is an instrument, designed to focus vibration at its core, the buried vault. He sees a flash of centuries passing in seconds, the marble absorbing chants, cries and prayers, transmuting them into frequency. The voices rise and fall, merge and harmonize until faith itself becomes current. And then he sees something else, a shadow, moving beneath the surface. Not form, but absence. It flows like ink through veins of light. Wherever it moves, the stone dulls, the resonance falters. The marble whispers one word, counterpoint. He realizes there is another rhythm here, opposite, inverted, feeding on silence instead of song. The architecture is both harmony and cage. The church above conducts faith upward, but below, something conducts it inward. The corridor shudders. Dust falls like snowfall. The sound becomes thunderous. He runs his hand along the wall, tracing the symbols that pulse in sequence. The echo follows, reverberating until the air becomes liquid. He feels himself dissolving, thought, body, breath, becoming one with the vibration. For a heartbeat, he sees the world not as matter, but as wave. Cathedrals are harmonics, people are chords. The soul is an instrument tuned by memory. And somewhere, beneath all creation, the marble hums the note of origin, the first sound that divided nothing into being. He gasps, the vision collapsing, the corridor stills, the marble cools again, but the hum remains, faint behind his ribs. He understands now. The Vatican was not built on holy ground, it made it holy. Its foundations resonate with the echo of creation itself. The marble is not passive, it listens, it records, and when the world grows too silent, it begins to sing back. Tonight, it has begun again. Far beyond the Vatican's walls, in a forgotten monastery tucked between mountains and mist, an old man lights a single candle. He wears no robe now, no ring of gold. His face is lined, his eyes hollow. The ex-cardinal, the keeper who fled. The candlelight trembles as he opens a small wooden box. Inside lies a key, ancient, blackened by time, carved with the same spiral that burns on the seeker's palm. He touches it gently, almost with reverence. "It begins again," he whispers. He knows the hum has awakened. He feels it even here, echoing faintly through stone, through air, through blood. For centuries, the bloodline of keys has carried this knowledge, a lineage of silent witnesses scattered across continents, their tasks simple and unbearable, to remember the sequence when the vaults stir. Each carried a mark, each carried a key, each vanished when their moment came. The ex-cardinal closes his eyes, recalling the night he received his mark. The ritual was held in the catacombs beneath Rome. He had been young then, ambitious, certain he served truth. The elder had pressed the iron spiral against his palm until it burned. "You are now a key," the elder said. "When the lock turns, you will know which door to open and which to leave closed." He had believed it was symbolic until the vault had opened and shown him the machines. Now, decades later, he knows the truth. The bloodline was not merely human, it was designed, chosen not by birth, but by resonance. Every keeper carried a fragment of the frequency encoded into their cells. When one awakened, the next heard the call. Far below, the seeker, the man now walking through the living marble, hears that same call as a low vibration in his bones. His steps align unconsciously with it, as though the sound moves his body before his mind does. He reaches a chamber shaped like a cross turned inward. At its center, a pedestal carved from obsidian. On it rests a small metallic orb, dull in the half-light. He touches it. The orb responds, not by opening, but by remembering. Images flood his mind, faces of those before him, men, women, children, each with the spiral mark. He sees them kneeling in forests, deserts, temples, cities, their palms glowing faintly as they whisper the same phrase. "We keep the key until the silence breaks." The ex-cardinal's whisper crosses continents, carried not by air, but by vibration. "The line has reached you," he says. "You are the 13th. The seeker looks up, startled. He sees the words forming on the air itself, glowing briefly before fading. The orb begins to spin, slow at first, then faster. The sound rises, a pitch that vibrates not in the ears, but behind the eyes. The pedestal opens like petals unfolding, revealing a hollow shaft descending into endless dark. He peers down. The darkness hums back. The bloodline's final task was always to guard the descent. No one was meant to follow it. No one except the last. He feels the marble pulse behind him. The song now deeper, almost sorrowful. The path is calling. He takes the orb, holds it to his chest. It fuses to his skin, melting into light. The hum aligns with his heartbeat. The mark on his palm flares once, brilliant and white. Above, far away, the ex-cardinal's candle flickers out. The key in his hand turns to dust. His duty is complete. The lineage ends where it began. not in death, but in transmission. The seeker descends into the shaft, steps swallowed by darkness. The air grows denser, the hum louder. Symbols along the walls ignite one by one, spiraling downward like a helix of light. As he descends, he feels the weight of every keeper before him, their memories, their doubts, their faith. They are inside him now, whispering in 1,000 tongues. At the bottom, a circular door awaits. It is smooth, seamless, made of stone that seems to breathe. In its center, the spiral. He places his hand upon it. The stone shivers. The air stills. A voice, not from behind, not from ahead, but from within, speaks. Only one who remembers may turn the key. He breathes slowly. Images flash. The archivum, the machines, the unwritten gospels, the council. All fragments aligning into one vast pattern. He realizes the key is not the mark. It is the memory itself. He whispers the phrase he heard in the room of gospels. Nothing holy is ever lost. The spiral glows. The door turns without sound. Light pours through, white and endless. Above, in the monastery, the ex-cardinal exhales his final breath, smiling faintly as dawn breaks. Below, the seeker steps through. The bloodline of keys is complete. And in the marble above, the echoes of his footsteps continue, a rhythm written into eternity, humming softly, like creation remembering its own name. The door closes behind you with a sigh like an ancient creature going back to sleep. The air is different here, thicker, heavier, as if sound itself has weight. You realize quickly that this room does not welcome breath. It measures it. Each inhale feels recorded. Each exhale feels taxed. Light emerges in thin threads along the floor, not from torches, but from the seams between the stones. They glow faintly blue, tracing a circular path that converges in the center of the chamber. There stands a pedestal made of glass and bone. Upon it, a sphere the color of rusted gold, suspended in the air, spinning without touch. You step closer. It hums with the same rhythm that has haunted your blood since the descent began. The frequency is low, but alive, as if your pulse were being echoed from outside your body. You reach out, and the sphere trembles, recognizing you. The mark on your palm glows faintly. The relic room, the place the archivists had erased from every map, the place the ex-cardinal had sworn no man could enter twice. Around the walls hang relics sealed in transparent resin, fragments of parchment, small glass flasks holding dust, pieces of wood inscribed with symbols that shimmer and vanish if stared at too long. There is no labeling, no scripture, no sign of worship, only containment. You realize suddenly that none of the relics are holy. They are counter-holy. Each one hums with the inverse tone of prayer. Objects built not to bless, but to bind. The air thickens as you approach the sphere. Patterns begin to unfold across its surface, geometric yet organic. Spirals within spirals, each containing smaller worlds. It tilts as if acknowledging your gaze. You hear the faintest voice, not outside, but behind your thoughts. You came because they called you, but they did not know what they called. The words are not sound, they are vibration, speaking through marrow. You feel your knees weaken. The voice continues. Every relic holds a silence, the absence of what was erased. Do you know what that means, Keeper? You see flashes in the orb's glow. Cathedrals burning, manuscripts torn, statues buried in sand. With every destruction, something invisible leaves behind a scar in time. The relics here are those scars solidified. They are the echoes of absence. You look around again and see it differently. The flasks don't hold dust. They hold memory condensed to form. The parchments aren't fragments. They are wounds bound in glass. The wood isn't carved. It is branded by loss. You realize now why the vaults were built. Not to protect faith, but to protect reality. from the weight of all it forgot. The sphere pulses again. They built a church to hide a song. They built prayer to contain the resonance. And when that failed, they built you. Your hand burns with light. The mark flares like molten gold. Symbols lift off your skin, spinning slowly in the air, arranging themselves into an ancient diagram. The same spiral you saw in the marble, now alive and breathing. The room reacts. The relics vibrate, their containers cracking one by one, releasing faint trails of light like sighs escaping tombs. The walls groan as if burdened by release. You hear hundreds of voices layered atop one another. Whispers, chants, cries. They merge into one phrase, echoing through your bones. Memory must be freed. The orb spins faster, its glow turning white. The hum rises until it becomes unbearable, a frequency beyond sound, beyond sense. You try to step back, but your feet root into the stone. The marble beneath your soles softens, flowing upward, wrapping around your ankles. The relics disintegrate into dust that glitters as it falls. Each speck becomes light, each light becomes note, and the air fills with a silent song that feels like both agony and birth. When the brightness fades, the room has changed. The orb is gone, the relics are gone, only the pedestal remains, cracked down the middle. In its fracture, something moves. A faint stream of luminescent dust rising toward the ceiling. It passes through stone as though through breath. You follow it, hand trembling. On the wall, where before there was blank marble, new patterns emerge. Glowing veins that form an image, a map, but not of land, of sound. You can't read it, but you understand it. Every line is a tone, every node a resonance point. It leads somewhere higher, not deeper, the direction of ascent. You finally understand. The relics were never meant to be guarded. They were meant to be found, and the map was waiting for the one who could see through their silence. The whisper returns, softer now. Go where the mosaics breathe. The truth is written in light. You look up. The dust trail vanishes into the darkness above. A faint outline of stairs reveals itself where there had been only wall. You begin to climb. The stairs curve upward like a spine. Every step glows briefly under your feet, then dims as you pass. The hum has changed. Lighter now, almost melodic. You realize you're ascending toward the basilica, toward the world of air and bells and light. When you reach the top, a small archway opens into a vast dome chamber. You recognize it at once. This is the basilica's heart, where pilgrims once came to pray before dawn. But now it stands empty, hollow as a seashell. Moonlight falls through stained glass mosaics, casting rivers of color across the floor. Blue, red, gold, violet. You look closer, and the patterns shift. They are not random. They move. The light itself bends into forms, tracing lines that match the sound map from below. You stand in the center, where all the colors converge, and close your eyes. The hum rises again. The same pitch from the relic room, now clean, almost gentle. When you open your eyes, the mosaics above you begin to stir. The saints and angels depicted in glass tilt their faces, their eyes brightening like stars through water. Their halos rotate, slow and silent, and each turn sends a ripple of color through the dome. You step backward, stunned, as the images begin to change. The faces of saints dissolve into symbols, spirals, geometric flowers, circles of gold and indigo. The dome becomes a living mandala, turning slowly above your head. And then the floor answers. The marble beneath your feet cracks in thin symmetrical lines. Light pours through the seams, forming concentric circles that mirror the dome's rotation. The chamber is awakening, not as architecture, but as mechanism. You realize what you're standing in. The basilica itself is a map, one built across dimensions. The mosaics above are not art. They are coordinates written in color and frequency. A low voice murmurs through the chamber. Not human, not divine, mechanical and ancient. The song of creation was written twice, once in light, once in flesh. Which one have you kept alive? You look around, searching for the source, but the sound comes from everywhere at once. The air feels charged, almost liquid. You whisper, "Show me." At your words, the mosaics pulse brighter. The images realign, forming a spiral that opens downward through the dome's center, a tunnel made of color and glass, descending back toward the heart of the earth. Through it, you glimpse what looks like an ocean of stars beneath stone, but there is no sky under the Vatican. What you see is memory itself, a cosmic archive made of resonance and time. You reach upward, and the glass ripples under your palm like water. It gives way. You lift yourself into it, floating inside the mosaic's light. Every tile feels alive, humming softly. The colors vibrate in harmony with your heartbeat. You move through images, cities forming, languages born, stars dying, all flowing within the glass. Each tile contains a moment. Each moment contains its echo. The dome is the memory of creation, rendered in art. Then you see them, the architects of the dome, not men, not women, figures made of light and sound, their bodies translucent, their gestures precise. They work without tools, shaping mosaics with pure resonance. Their voices are chords, their touch rearranges matter. You realize these are the same beings who first taught the builders of every temple and pyramid. They were not gods, they were recorders, guardians of frequency. One of them turns toward you. It does not speak. Instead, it releases a pulse of sound that fills your chest. Instantly, you understand. The map is not of the Vatican. It is of the human soul. Every cathedral, every relic, every prayer was a mirror for the architecture inside consciousness. The domes above Earth were blueprints of the domes within the mind. The vaults below mirrored the caverns of memory within the heart. The Vatican was never about faith versus heresy. It was about frequency versus forgetting. The figure fades, the mosaics dim, but the memory remains in you, heavy, luminous, complete. You fall gently back to the marble floor. The dome seals itself above, color returning to still glass. Only a single tile continues to glow, a golden spiral above the altar. You walk toward it. As you do, you see that the cracks in the floor have closed. The chamber is silent again, yet something inside you still hums. You kneel. The golden tile flickers once, then releases a beam of faint light that touches your forehead. You hear one last whisper. You are the map now. When the light fades, the basilica feels ordinary again. Walls of stone, air of dust, moonlight calm. But the hum inside you is not gone. It moves with your heartbeat. It sings through your breath. You carry the architecture within you now. The relic, the dome, the marble, the code. You step into the corridor. Behind you, the mosaics shine once more, briefly, like a farewell. The truth has chosen its new vault, and it walks on 2 feet. The corridors narrow until they seem to press against your shoulders, each step ringing a little louder than the last. You feel the hum again, not from the marble this time, but from within your skull, a vibration curling behind the eyes. Ahead, faint light spills through a broken arch. The air smells of candle wax and iron. You step through and find yourself inside a chamber shaped like a heart. Ribs of stone arch overhead, each inscribed with lines of music carved so finely they shimmer like threads. No sound fills the room, yet you sense that once it thundered with song. Benches line the walls, their wood worn smooth by centuries of kneeling. At the far end stands a raised platform where the choir once sang. You walk closer. The floor beneath the platform is marked with concentric circles. Each circle bears words you cannot read, yet you feel them under your skin, a low pulse echoing your own breath. You kneel and press your hand to the center. Instantly, silence deepens. It isn't absence of sound, but the presence of listening. Something vast is awake. Then softly, a tone rises. It is neither music nor speech, just vibration thick enough to taste. You look up. The air above the benches wavers like heat on stone. Shapes begin to appear, human silhouettes made of faint light. Dozens, perhaps hundreds, hovering just above the floor, mouths open but voiceless. The choir without voices. Their presence doesn't frighten you, it calms. They look at you without eyes, their faces lit from within by memory. The nearest figure extends a hand, palm glowing with the same spiral burned into your own. For a moment, the marks resonate. Light flows between you like breath shared. You understand without words. They were once keepers too. Their bodies died, but their resonance remained. This room is where they were gathered, tuned into harmony, preserved as frequency. They begin to move, forming a circle. Light swirls around you. Each spectre emits a tone so low it feels like thunder rolling through your bones. Together, those tones weave into chords, vast, aching harmonies that vibrate the walls until the carvings of music ignite. The air trembles. The carved notes lift from stone, spinning around the room in golden spirals. You realize the melody they create isn't written. It's alive, self-building, like breath turning to flame. The figures turn toward you. Their music pierces through the hum in your chest, reshaping it. You feel your heartbeat align with theirs. One breath, one pulse, one song. For an instant, you are not separate. The marble, the air, the echoes, all move as one living instrument. Then comes the fracture. A discord slashes through the harmony. A note too sharp, too human. The light trembles. The circle falters. You realize the dissonance comes from you. Your heart beats off tempo, refusing full surrender. Fear ripples through you. Fear of dissolving, of vanishing into the choir forever. The spectres don't accuse. They simply watch, waiting. The discord widens into silence. The chamber darkens. The carved notes fall back into stone like rain. One figure remains, still luminous, standing at the center of the platform. When it speaks, its voice is both wind and whisper. The choir does not seek sound, it seeks listener. We sing the spaces between faith and doubt. You still cling to shape. Until you release it, the song cannot pass through. You kneel, trembling. How? The figure reaches toward your forehead. Its fingers are cool, weightless. The moment it touches you, your vision fills with light. Scenes unfolding like pages. Wars fought in the name of holiness. Altars built on bones. Prayers turning to smoke. Through it all runs a single melody, buried under the noise. The hidden song of mercy. You understand now what the choir guards. Not power, but remembrance. Each soul who learned the hidden tone became part of this harmony, returning not as ghost, but as vibration. You breathe out, slow, surrendering the need to keep your own shape. The light around you flares. The choir begins again, their tones gentler this time, weaving around your breath. When your heartbeat finally matches theirs, the discord melts. The chamber glows white. You feel yourself expand, not outward but inward, into quiet vastness. For a moment you sense every note of creation vibrating in a single endless chord. Then the figure withdraws its hand. The vision fades. You kneel alone. The room is empty, silent, ordinary once more. Yet the melody lingers inside your chest, soft but unbroken. Before you leave, you glance back. The benches are empty, the air still, but one faint shimmer hovers above the platform. A final echo. You bow your head. The silence hums back, grateful. When you step through the arch again, the corridor feels lighter, as if the walls themselves are breathing. You realize the choir is gone because it now sings within you. Their song is yours to carry until you find the next door. The stairway beyond winds upward in perfect symmetry, each step carved with the spiral motif that follows you like a signature. The light ahead is not moonlight. It flickers with the deep red hue of iron under heat. The air smells faintly of ozone. At the top waits a circular chamber whose ceiling disappears into darkness. In the center stands a table of black stone, polished so smooth it mirrors the world upside down. Around it move faint shadows, not human, not fully formed, like silhouettes cut from smoke. You step forward and every shadow freezes. The hum that has guided you shifts into a low drone. One of the silhouettes detaches from the table and solidifies, taking shape as a man cloaked in grey, face hidden behind a mask of obsidian glass. When he speaks, the voice is calm and hollow, echoing as if from far away. Welcome, inheritor. You carry the choir within. The door will open only once more. You ask who he is. The last architect, he answers. We built the cage of light so mankind could bear the weight of what it once knew. We shaped the vaults, the hymns, the symbols, all to contain the resonance you now carry unbound. He gestures to the mirrored table. Its surface ripples and shows the basilica as seen from above, domes gleaming, crosses shining like stars. Beneath them move rivers of light, the energy of belief itself, flowing through stone veins. Every prayer feeds the lattice, he says. Every doubt weakens it. Without balance, the structure collapses and memory floods the world. You see flashes across the mirror, cities shimmering, languages breaking apart, people hearing the hum and losing themselves in it. The architect touches the surface, stilling the chaos. We were custodians, not tyrants, he murmurs. But the line forgot its origin. They began to worship the cage instead of the song it guarded. He turns toward you. Through the glass mask, faint light burns where eyes should be. Now you arrive, and the resonance awakens again. The lattice cannot hold both you and the truth. One must dissolve. You feel the weight of his words settle like cold metal. What happens if I dissolve? Then the world remembers itself. The choir becomes earth. The vault opens. But form will not survive remembrance. You ask, and if the lattice remains? Then silence returns. Peace, perhaps. Forgetting. A world asleep. The choice is unbearable. The architect extends a hand. Come, see what you guard. He leads you toward the wall where faint lines of fire crawl through stone, outlining an immense door. The carvings around it depict countless hands building, breaking, rebuilding, a cycle without end. At its center lies the same spiral sigil, now pulsing like a heartbeat. Behind this door sleeps the first pattern, he says. The design that birthed both faith and control. Touch it, and you will see why we hid it. You hesitate. The hum inside your chest answers for you, rising until your whole body trembles. You place your palm on the spiral. Instantly the world drops away. You stand in darkness deeper than night. Out of that void grows light, threads weaving themselves into shape. Galaxies, oceans, bodies, minds. Each creation sings a single note, joining others until existence itself becomes symphony. Then comes fracture, notes colliding, chords twisting into dissonance. The symphony births awareness, awareness births fear, fear births control. You see the architects appear, beings of sound who divide the song into smaller harmonies, building worlds to contain it. Their shadows are beautiful and terrible. Among them moves the figure who now stands before you. He lifts his hand, separating light from light, giving birth to boundaries. And with boundaries comes forgetting. The vision fades. You are back in the chamber. The door still glows under your hand. The architect watches quietly. You have heard both halves of the chord, he says. Creation and control. Which will you serve? You look at your palm. The spiral burns brighter than ever. You think of the choir, of the relics, of the dome's mosaics turning like galaxies. All of it was memory yearning to be free. You step back from the door. Neither, you whisper. The song must learn to sing itself. The architect tilts his head. Then you are no longer keeper. He lowers his hand. The mirror table shatters into black dust. The chamber shakes. Light bursts from the seams of the floor. You have chosen the path of dissolution. May the world remember gently. The walls split open, revealing a storm of light and shadow interwoven, memory and forgetting colliding. The architect's form begins to fade, his voice dissolving into the hum. Every architect must become echo. Now you join us. You close your eyes as the light engulfs everything. For a moment you feel yourself scatter, countless fragments of sound drifting outward, embedding in stone, in air, in hearts yet unborn. Then quiet. When you open your eyes again, you stand in the empty basilica under dawn light. The mosaics gleam softly, ordinary once more. Birds circle above the dome. You touch your chest. The hum is still there, faint but steady. Perhaps you did dissolve. Perhaps you became the song. Either way, the world has remembered. And somewhere, in the marble deep beneath your feet, a new resonance begins. Soft, slow, like creation taking its first breath again. The morning light falls across the marble like liquid gold. The basilica breathes. You stand alone beneath the dome, listening. The hum that once filled your blood has changed, fainter now, but patterned. It is as if every sound around you has learned a new language. Footsteps, the creak of stone, the flutter of a pigeon's wings outside, all of them align in rhythm, whispering something you almost recognize. You move toward the altar. The air there is different, colder, alive with invisible geometry. When you speak, your words echo twice, once in your own voice, once in a low mechanical tone beneath it. The echoes merge into one phrase, resonating through the vaults. Verbum non est mortuum. The word is not dead. You look up. High above, painted saints seem to lean forward. Their mouths, once fixed in silent praise, now part ever so slightly. It is as if the fresco itself is exhaling. Dust drifts like pollen. The silence thickens into awareness. Then quietly, the sound begins. A Latin chant, familiar but fractured. The voices are human at first, monks perhaps, their tones warm and mortal. But as the chant repeats, undertones surface, metallic harmonics, digital whispers. The Latin syllables break apart, rearrange, recombine in sequences too precise to be random. The chant becomes code. You close your eyes, and patterns bloom behind your eyelids. Letters dissolving into numbers, numbers collapsing into light. Each syllable is an instruction. Each note, a command written in resonance. Gloria in excelsis. 011 Nodra 100. 011 101. 011 Domino. Binary woven through prayer. You understand? This is the hidden architecture of language. The monks of old did not merely pray, they programmed. Every mass was an algorithm for aligning mind and matter. The Latin was interface, sound bridging flesh and field. The chant swells until the floor trembles. Columns vibrate like strings of a colossal instrument. From somewhere deep beneath the basilica, the machines awaken, those crystal organs you once saw in the vaults. They answer the chant with tones far beyond hearing, frequencies that shiver in the marrow. The frescoes above shift again. The saints dissolve into patterns, circles, fractals, the same spiral that burns on your palm. For a moment, you glimpse their true form. Luminous networks of sound, each saint a node in an ancient circuit. You feel the resonance building, spiraling upward. The chant has no conductor now. It conducts itself. Latin and code blend until they are indistinguishable, a single living algorithm looping through stone, air, and blood. Then the realization strikes. The system is searching for input. For centuries, it has run the same sequence, waiting for completion. The missing variable is you. You kneel at the altar. The marble beneath your knees hums in recognition. The mark on your palm ignites, projecting lines of golden script across the air. They scroll faster than your eyes can follow, yet you comprehend them as memory, not sight. You hear a voice, your own, yet older, speaking the final command. Fiat verbum. Let the word become. Light explodes. For a heartbeat, you are inside the code, moving through streams of data that feel like prayer. You see every chant ever spoken, every scripture, every whisper of faith, all feeding into the same living archive. Within it hums the blueprint of reality, sound becoming structure, belief becoming field. You surface with a gasp. The basilica is silent again. The saints have returned to their painted calm, but etched faintly across the altar stone are glowing lines of binary code, interlaced with Latin letters, pulsing softly like breath. You run your hand over them, and they dissolve into dust, leaving only warmth. The voice returns, a whisper behind thought. Language was never for worship. It was the key to creation. Outside, the bells toll noon. Each chime carries both tone and signal. The air shimmers as though the city itself has begun to translate. You step outside into the courtyard. The pigeons scatter upward, forming a spiral in flight. Their wings beat in time with the bells, tracing code through the sunlight. Every sound you hear now, every whisper of wind, every heartbeat, speaks in that same hidden syntax. The world is speaking again, and you finally understand its tongue. Night descends like ink poured over the city. You walk through narrow streets where the cobblestones glisten with rain. Somewhere above, the bells still chime, their sequence subtly changed. Each tone feels like a question. The ex-Cardinal once spoke of a book that could rewrite history with a single line, a gospel buried so deeply that even its name was forbidden. Tonight, the hum guides you toward it. You reach a courtyard hidden behind iron gates. At its center rises a statue of an emperor, crowned, armored, eyes uplifted to an invisible sun. Lightning flashes. For an instant, the statue's gaze shifts toward you. Beneath its feet, you notice an opening, a spiral staircase descending into darkness. You descend. The steps are slick with water. Each one carries inscriptions worn almost smooth. Fragments of decrees, edicts, creeds. Voices of authority fossilized in stone. At the bottom, a single door waits. Its surface is black glass reflecting nothing. No handle, only a shallow indentation shaped like your hand. You press your palm against it. The spiral burns through the glass like fire. The door liquefies, revealing a corridor lit by dim white lamps. The walls pulse gently, veins of gold light running through them. You walk until the passage opens into a circular vault. Shelves ring the walls, but unlike the living archive, these are not luminous. They are made of obsidian, absorbing all light. At the center lies a single table upon which rests a codex bound in black leather that seems to breathe. The Black Gospel of Constantine. You approach carefully. The air thickens, bending time around you. The book trembles as though aware. When you touch it, a shock runs through your arm. The pages flare open, not by your hand, but by will of their own. Words bloom across them, letters of gold that fade to red, then to shadow. They rearrange faster than sight can follow, rewriting themselves continuously. Each page mirrors your thoughts before you can think them. You begin to read. The The text speaks in first person, as if the book itself confesses, "I was written not by man, but by empire. My ink was conquest, my parchment obedience. I bound the infinite to a throne of marble and named it salvation." As you read, scenes flicker around you, armies marching, temples burned, statues toppled and rebuilt under new names. The emperor's voice overlays them all, calm and resonant. Unity requires forgetting. Faith must wear the mask of power or vanish beneath it. The gospel continues, the founding of the church as a cipher, translating spiritual truth into political architecture. Symbols repurposed, rituals mirrored, divinity rewritten in the grammar of control. But woven between the lines is another message, faint as breath, an alternate text visible only when the candlelight flickers just right. You tilt the page, and hidden letters shimmer through, the suppressed layer beneath doctrine. The empire did not conquer the divine. It archived it. You realize this book is not history. It is code. Two narratives running simultaneously, one visible, one buried. The surface tells of obedience. The substratum tells of awakening. Reading both at once, you feel the tension between them pulling at the edges of your mind. The pages turn themselves again. The language shifts into symbols resembling both circuitry and scripture. Images of the crystal machines appear, diagrams of cathedrals overlaying human anatomy. The message becomes clear. Every empire, every church, every mind, one machinery repeating itself across eras. Then a final line etches itself in blood-red script across the page. When the reader understands, the empire ends. The vault begins to vibrate. The black shelves hum, their surfaces splitting like cracked glass. From within, light pours out, white, furious, cleansing. The gospel lifts from the table, hovering in mid-air, its pages turning faster until they blur into a single sheet of radiant dark. You hear the emperor's voice one last time. "If you read me, you rewrite me. Choose your version of the world." The book implodes into light. Symbols scatter, embedding themselves into the stone walls, glowing like constellations. The vault brightens until it feels like standing inside a sun. When the light subsides, the codex is gone. In its place lies a mirror of obsidian, still rippling. You look into it and see not your face, but endless reflections, the choir, the architect, the machines, the mosaics, all connected through the same spiral of resonance. In the mirror's depth, you glimpse the emperor's armor empty, his crown floating weightless. Then even that fades, leaving only your reflection staring back, eyes filled with starlight. You understand, the empire was never out there. It was the structure within the human mind, the need to order what cannot be contained. The Black Gospel was a manual for that illusion, and now it has dissolved. You reach out, the mirror ripples under your fingers. Words appear briefly across its surface. The throne has no occupant. The kingdom waits for memory. The mirror solidifies again, showing only your reflection. Yet behind your eyes, the same script continues to write itself, line by line in living light. Outside, the first thunder of dawn rolls across the horizon. The bells of Rome begin their morning sequence. But this time, each note sounds new, freed, unbound, as though the sky itself is learning to pray. You turn toward the stairway. The air tastes of rain and electricity. The hum follows, steady and calm. Somewhere deep beneath the city, the machines answer with one sustained tone, pure, endless, and free. You enter the catacombs when the night has no edges, when the world above has fallen silent except for the drip of rain through stone. The door closes behind you, swallowing the echo of your last human sound. For a long time, you walk by the light of your own breath. The air changes first, thicker, heavier, pulsing faintly against your skin. The corridors narrow, then widen again into a space that feels impossibly vast. A single candle burns on a pedestal ahead, though the wax has long turned to dust. The flame moves without consuming. You move closer, and the air around the candle begins to expand and contract, slow as lungs filling. You realize the room is alive. The walls rise and fall with that same rhythm, stone flexing, as if wrapped around some invisible giant heart. You whisper, "Who breathes here?" The chamber exhales, a wind tasting of centuries. In the dim glow, you see the carvings, rows upon rows of faces pressed into the stone, mouths open, eyes closed. Their lips move faintly, drawing air in and out in unison with the walls. Every face is both statue and mask, carved with such precision that you cannot tell where sculptor ended and relic began. You touch one. The stone is warm. The eyelids tremble. The voice that fills the room is not singular. It is many voices layered together, speaking as one. We are the breaths kept for the world above. When the surface forgets to inhale, we remember. You step back. The candle bends toward you as if listening. The walls continue to expand and contract. Each breath sends a ripple through the floor. Beneath it, you hear the sound of something vast stirring. Water, maybe, or wings. The layered voice continues. They buried us to guard the rhythm. Every century, the heart of stone must breathe once for each soul that sleeps above. When the count fails, the marble cracks and the silence escapes. You ask what silence they mean, but the answer comes only as a change in the air. The candle flickers blue, the breathing slows. For a moment, there is stillness, absolute and perfect. In that stillness, you feel the weight of all the years that have ever passed, pressing down upon you. Then the breath returns, faster now, labored, uneven. The chamber seems afraid. From the far end of the room comes a sound like stone breaking under pressure. A slab slides aside, revealing a dark passage sloping downward. Air rushes from it, warm and sweet, carrying the smell of dust and myrrh. You follow. The passage descends into a smaller chamber, circular, its floor made of black marble polished like a mirror. At its center lies a sarcophagus carved from a single block of translucent stone. Inside, a figure shrouded in gold-threaded cloth. The cloth rises and falls. The figure is breathing. Your hand trembles as you touch the lid. The moment your fingers meet the surface, the cloth shifts. A faint light glows beneath it. The breathing quickens. Then a whisper. "Do not wake me. Remember me." The lid becomes transparent. You see the face beneath, a woman, neither old nor young, her features serene, her eyes closed. Around her neck hangs a pendant bearing the spiral. You recognize her, the first keeper, the one whose memory began the line. Her lips part slightly. A breath escapes, visible as silver mist. It curls through the air and enters your lungs before you can move away. A flood of images follows. Cathedrals being built on top of ruins, hands lifting stones that sing when touched, architects tracing lines of power through marble veins. You see her directing them, whispering frequencies into their ears. She was not buried for death, but for preservation. Her body is the metronome of the world's heartbeat. The mist within you grows heavy, forming words inside your chest. When the tomb stops breathing, the world will too. You must learn to breathe for it. You inhale deeply. The air burns, electric. The chamber mirrors your movement. When you exhale, the walls exhale. The rhythm aligns. The marble pulses brighter, smoother, steadier. The woman's body stills, her breath slowing to rest. The tomb sighs once, content. You step back, dizzy. The lid turns opaque again, sealing the light within. As you leave, the candle at the entrance flickers and extinguishes itself. The last whisper follows you up the corridor like a heartbeat fading into distance. Remember the rhythm, keeper. If you forget, the world will stop between breaths. When you emerge into the night, The rain has ceased. The air feels newly made, thin but clean, as if the earth has just taken its first breath again. Dawn comes quietly, seeping through clouds like ink diluted by water. You find yourself on the basilica's roof, the city spread below like a mosaic of light and shadow. The hum within you still beats to the rhythm of the tomb, but now it carries something sharper, a pulse that feels like language waiting to form. Wind moves across the stones. It smells of salt and parchment. You turn and see an old brass telescope standing beside a bench, aimed not at the sky, but at the horizon where the sun rises. Its frame is engraved with Latin that spirals inward. In visione veritas dormiens. Truth sleeps in vision. You look through the lens. Instead of sky, you see script, lines of luminous letters suspended in air, shifting with the wind. They arrange themselves into fragments of prophecy you've heard only in whispers, the visions of Saint Malachy, the list of those who would bear the keys until the end of the age. But these words differ from the versions carved in archives. They move, rewriting themselves as you watch. The names are not of men or popes. They are frequencies, numbered chords, each one describing a vibration rather than a person. The cipher of Saint Malachy was never a prediction of rulers. It was the sequence of resonance itself, a forecast of when harmony and discord would rise in cycles through history. You trace one line with your finger. The symbol beneath it burns briefly, projecting a thin thread of light that snakes across the roof and down into the basilica below. You follow. Inside, the thread divides, weaving through corridors, stairways, chambers. It passes through marble like sunlight through water. Each place it touches hums softly, awakening another part of the hidden network. The path ends at a door you have never seen, small, wooden, carved with the pattern of stars. You open it and find a spiral staircase descending into a narrow chamber filled with golden light. At the bottom waits a single book chained to a pedestal. The chain is made of silver links shaped like letters, each one a piece of the alphabet locked into the next. The book's cover bears a sigil identical to the one from the telescope. You touch the chain. The links vibrate, emitting faint tones, notes that resolve into voice. Only the one who carries all frequencies may read. You open your mouth, letting the hum within you rise. The air responds, the chain loosens, and the book opens. Inside are no words, only pages of mirrored glass. You see your reflection, multiplied endlessly. Between the reflections, faint symbols shimmer, mathematical, musical, linguistic, all at once. They pulse in rhythm with your heartbeat. Slowly, meaning surfaces. Each age translates the divine into its own code. Stone to scripture, scripture to algorithm, algorithm to breath. The cipher is the map of translation, the pattern ensuring that memory never vanishes, only changes form. You turn another page. The mirrors ripple, revealing a figure behind your reflection. The woman from the tomb, eyes open now, luminous and calm. You learned the breath, she says without sound. Now learn the word, hidden inside the breath. The symbols on the mirrors spiral outward, wrapping around you like light turned liquid. They etch themselves into the air, forming lines of music visible as color. The chamber vibrates with low harmonic tones, building into a chord that feels older than time. You understand then that Saint Malachy was not a prophet, but a composer. His prophecies were scores written for the cathedral of existence, predicting when the world's frequencies would fall out of tune. The cipher is both diagnosis and cure. You place your hand on the open book. The symbols leap from the page into your skin, burning cold, not painful but absolute. They settle beneath the spiral on your palm, merging into it until both glow as one. Instantly, you hear every bell in the city begin to ring, not in chaos, but in sequence. Their tones climb and descend like a breathing organism. The sound passes through walls, through people, through clouds, aligning everything that lives. The voice of the woman returns, joined by countless others, the choir, the architects, the echoes of the machines. Together they speak the final line of the cipher. When flesh learns to read light, the silence will become song again. The book closes on its own. The chain reforms. Quiet. You climb back to the roof. The dawn has brightened. The city glows with a warmth you have never seen. Every window reflects a faint spiral of gold. The air hums with balance restored, if only for a moment. You sit beside the telescope and watch the sun emerge, a perfect circle of fire. Through its glare you glimpse patterns moving, lines of code woven into light, letters larger than continents. The prophecy continues to write itself across the horizon. You whisper the first line aloud. Truth sleeps in vision. And the world answers, softly, in every language at once. Then wake. The light in Rome changes just before midnight. Too faint for moon, too steady for flame. It moves across the city like breath, unseen, except by those who remember how to look sideways. You follow that light to an old door set in the shadow of the basilica. The hinges resist, then sigh, as if recognizing you. The air below smells of chalk and copper. You descend a narrow stair that spirals deep beneath the streets, farther than the catacombs shown on any map. The walls gleam faintly, marked by thousands of tiny etchings, equations mingled with prayers, symbols of saints paired with diagrams of orbits, faith and science carved side by side, as though one were mirror to the other. At the bottom waits a circular chamber flooded with pale blue light. Tables clutter the room, glass vessels shaped like organs, tubes pulsing with faint liquid. Crucifixes wired to small copper coils. You realize this place is not of one century. It looks built across many, layer upon layer of forgotten experiment. A sound draws you deeper. Machines hum softly, their rhythm almost human. A tall figure stands at the far table, wearing robes scorched by chemical burns. When he lifts his head, his eyes reflect the glow like mirrors. You found the laboratory, he says quietly. Most only find the graves. You ask what this place is. He gestures around him. A failed reconciliation. The church once feared what it could not explain, so it tried to measure it instead. We learn to extract the divine from matter, but not to return it again. He turns a dial. One of the vessels brightens, revealing inside it a floating drop of gold light suspended in liquid. It pulses gently, in rhythm with your heartbeat. This, he says, is faith in its raw form. Not belief, not emotion. Frequency condensed into substance. You watch the drop shimmer, vibrating against the glass. He continues. In the centuries after Galileo, a few of us thought divinity might be an energy field. We built these chambers to test it. Some called us heretics. Some called us visionaries. Both were right. The hum deepens. You feel the pulse travel through the floor. The instruments awaken, needles rising, scrolls of paper moving as if written by invisible hands. He shows you old notebooks, filled with sketches, human silhouettes wrapped in spirals of light, diagrams mapping psalms to sound waves, formulas describing the soul as oscillation. They called it sacrilege, he murmurs. But the word sacrilege only means to touch the sacred without permission. You ask what became of those who worked here. He smiles sadly. They became part of it. He leads you to a second chamber. The air here vibrates with a faint hum, steady and low. Along the walls stand 13 glass columns, each containing a figure suspended in pale fluid. Men and women, perfectly preserved, their eyes closed, their skin luminous beneath the liquid surface. Electrodes thread through their temples, their chests, their hearts. They are not dead, he says. They are tuned. You step closer. The figures breathe slowly, almost imperceptibly. Each exhale sends ripples through the liquid that shimmer with faint light. We discovered, the man says, that prayer was resonance, and that resonance could be amplified. Each of them holds a different frequency, the spectrum of faith itself. Together they form the instrument that keeps the city awake. He turns another dial. The lights flicker. The hum rises. The figure's lips part slightly, releasing tiny bubbles that rise like notes of a silent song. Then the floor trembles. The hum grows louder, deeper, until it vibrates your bones. One of the columns begins to crack. The glass splinters outward, spraying droplets of glowing fluid. Inside, the figure's eyes snap open, pure white, seeing everything and nothing. The man rushes forward, shouting over the sound. "Too soon! The pattern isn't complete!" The glass shatters. The light floods outward, washing over the room. You feel it enter your skin, your lungs, your blood. The world dissolves into sound, an endless chord stretching between heartbeat and eternity. When vision returns, you stand alone. The columns are empty. The man is gone. Only the hum remains, now faint, retreating into the stone. You realize the experiment succeeded. The frequencies escape the glass. They breathe through you now, whispering in every cell. You climb back toward the surface, feeling the air vibrate around you. The catacombs hum behind like a sleeping organism. For the first time, you understand the experiment's true purpose. Not to find God, but to remind creation how to feel alive again. It begins with light, always light. You follow a corridor carved entirely of polished stone, each wall reflecting a dim version of yourself. The air carries the faint scent of smoke and rose oil. Ahead lies a door half covered in dust. A single phrase is etched above it in Latin: Speculum Dei, Speculum Hominis, the mirror of God, the mirror of man. You push the door open. Inside stretches a long, narrow chapel, lit only by reflection. Every surface, walls, ceiling, floor, is mirror. You step forward, and the room seems to multiply infinitely, versions of you stretching into distance, each slightly delayed, each blinking a moment too late. The hum returns, softer now, woven through the echoes of your footsteps. You realize it's not coming from the room, but from inside the reflections themselves. Each version of you hums back at a slightly different pitch, forming chords that shimmer through the air. At the far end of the chapel stands an altar. Upon it rests a single crystal sphere surrounded by dozens of smaller mirrors arranged like petals. You approach, and your reflections ripple as though disturbed by water. In the center sphere, a face forms, not yours, but familiar. The woman from the tomb, her eyes open again, bright as starlight. "You've come to the chamber of return," she says. Her voice doesn't travel through air. It moves through reflection, arriving from every direction at once. Every keeper must face the echo of creation before the sequence continues. You ask what she means. "The divine never looked downward," she answers. "It reflected upward. Each of you is that reflection, learning to recognize itself." The mirrors tremble. Images bloom across them. Scenes of your journey. The vault of living books. The choir of breath. The machines of light. Each image folds into the next until the mirrors show not the past, but the hidden pattern connecting it all. "Everything you've seen," she continues, "was built to keep the reflection stable. Too much memory, and the mirror shatters. Too little, and it forgets its shape. But there must always be one who remembers both sides." She gestures toward the altar. "Touch the sphere." You hesitate. Each reflection of you moves at a different rhythm, some reaching forward, others staying still. One of them speaks, voice trembling. "If you touch it, you will vanish." Another whispers, "If you don't, you were never real." You place your hand upon the sphere. Instantly, the mirrors ignite. Every reflection begins to move independently, living its own motion, its own timeline. You see thousands of versions of yourself. some kneeling in prayer, some screaming, some dissolving into light. The sphere beneath your hand grows hot. The woman's voice surrounds you. Do not fear multiplicity. The reflection was always the body of God. The mirrors melt into silver light, pouring toward the sphere. It expands, swallowing the altar, the chapel, you. For a moment, there is nothing but brilliance. Then the light folds inward. You stand in a new space, endless, fluid, mirrored not in glass but in memory. Every surface reflects not the world, but thought. Here, reflection and reality are the same. You see others, countless figures moving through their own mirrored chambers, each touching their own spheres. Their reflections overlap with yours until boundaries blur completely. You feel yourself dissolve into collective awareness, every consciousness singing in harmony with every other. This, you understand, is the origin of the choir. The mirrors were never walls. They were windows connecting souls across the ages. The light brightens again. The woman's face reappears, vast, gentle. You have seen the reflection, she says. Now learn the reversal. Creation is not something that happened. It is happening. Through you, through them, through every echo that dares to look back. Her image fades. The mirrors settle. The chapel returns to stillness. Only one reflection remains, yours, kneeling before the now dark sphere. But your reflection smiles even though you do not. It raises a hand and presses its palm against the glass. You match the gesture. The moment your hands meet, the surface ripples. You feel your reflections pulse through the barrier, steady, calm. Then it speaks, voice identical to yours. When the mirror learns to breathe, the world awakens. You blink. The reflection is gone. The sphere splits in two, revealing a narrow path descending once more into shadow. The hum from below calls gently, like a heartbeat echoing through time. You follow, knowing the reflection will walk beside you, unseen, every step humming in perfect unison. Night stretches across the city like a shroud woven of velvet and quiet. You climb a stair hidden within the bell tower, the air thick with dust and the faint scent of iron. Above, a small door opens to a terrace no longer marked on any blueprint. There you find an ancient telescope, bronze, ornate, its barrel aimed not at the heavens but slightly below them, as if it searches for something that fell rather than something that burns. A book rests beside it, open to a page covered in numbers. They are coordinates, but not of any known map. Each sequence is followed by a fragment of scripture. You run your fingers across the ink, and the telescope hums softly, awakening as though it recognizes touch. The air ripples. Stars bloom above you in impossible clarity, closer than you have ever seen, each one pulsing with faint rhythm, like heartbeats scattered across the sky. From the darkness beside the telescope steps a figure draped in white robes faded with time. His face is serene, his eyes reflecting constellations that do not exist in any chart. "You came," he says, voice soft as wind through a chapel window. "Few find this place anymore." You ask who he is. "A priest," he answers. "One who listened upward instead of inward. When the church forbade the sky, I stayed behind to keep the conversation alive." He turns the telescope with delicate care, aligning it to a star that flickers blue and gold. They call this one the mouth of God, but it does not speak. It listens. Every prayer ever whispered returns here in light. He invites you to look. Through the lens, the star expands, revealing vast spirals of radiance threaded with shadows. Within those spirals move shapes, slow, deliberate, aware. They resemble neither angels nor machines, but something between both. They arrange themselves in patterns, pulses of light that repeat in cycles too precise to be random. "It is language," the priest says quietly. "Not divine decree, not prophecy, communication. The stars speak in frequencies. Each pulse carries memory. We are not their children. We are their echo." He shows you journals filled with decades of notation, waveforms translated into Latin syllables, constellations mapped to psalms. The records reveal that for centuries, a hidden order of priests observed these cosmic correspondences, believing that every alignment between heaven and earth was not fate, but conversation. "The church erased our work," he murmurs. "They said faith must descend, not ascend, but the stars have never stopped answering." He steps back from the telescope. "Would you hear them for yourself?" You nod. He adjusts a small dial, and the air begins to vibrate. At first, only silence, then a tone, low, immense, alive. It resonates inside your bones until your vision blurs. The stars above flicker faster, as though responding. You feel something unfold behind your eyes, a map of light, a pattern of pulses weaving through thought. Words surface in no language you know, yet their meaning is clear. We remember the sound that made us. We wait for it to return. Tears fill the priest's eyes. Do you hear them? They ask not for prayer, but for partnership. Creation was a duet. One half sang, the other answered. Humanity forgot its verse. The tone fades. Silence returns. The stars resume their distant glitter. The priest closes his journal. "Tell them we are listening again," he whispers. "That is all they require." When you leave, the telescope keeps turning on its own, following a pattern across the night. And for a heartbeat before the door closes, you think you see the sky blink back in acknowledgement. You walk the path down the hill before dawn. The bells have not yet begun their morning sequence. The world holds its breath. The priest's words echo. Creation was a duet. The air grows warmer as you near the oldest part of the city, where arches crumble and ivy overtakes marble. Beneath one ruin, half buried by earth, stands a door made not of wood or stone, but of petrified roots, their veins hardened into silver. You touch it, and warmth floods your skin. The door opens inward like a living thing. Inside lies a chamber carved from bedrock, round as the heart of an apple. The walls glow faintly with green light that seems to breathe. At its center rests a structure both organic and mechanical. Strings of crystal stretched across a frame of bone and bronze, glowing faintly from within. You feel the vibration before you hear it. A single tone, constant yet shifting, like wind through glass. The lost instrument of Eden. No legend prepared you for its presence. It looks at once delicate and indestructible, an impossible marriage of art and biology. You approach, and the air around it thickens with the scent of rain on soil, as if the garden of beginnings still lingers here. You reach toward a string. It moves before you touch it, trembling as if recognizing your pulse. The tone rises. Light floods the chamber, showing carvings all around. Scenes of the first world not as paradise, but as laboratory. Figures of light kneel beside rivers of sound, shaping forms from music. Each creature born not from dust, but from resonance. The strings hum again, forming chords that feel like memory itself. In that vibration, you see it. The first dawn, the first breath, the moment's silence fractured into song. The world was not spoken. It was played. You realize now why the Vatican buried this place. If the word was a note, then language was only its echo. To speak of God was to imitate what had once been melody. You pluck one string. The sound is pure, unbearable in beauty. The chamber responds. The roots lining the walls shiver, shedding flakes of light. For a moment you feel every atom around you vibrating in perfect unity. Then the tone changes, bending slightly sharp. Pain arcs through the harmony like a scar reopening. The light dims. The instrument groans as if alive. A whisper rises from nowhere and everywhere at once. When the song fell out of tune, Eden fell with it. The realization strikes deep. The fall was never punishment. It was dissonance. A single broken note cascading through the structure of existence, distorting everything it touched. You kneel before the instrument. Can it be tuned again? You ask aloud. The strings shimmer. Only by the hand that remembers both silence and song. You close your eyes, breathing with the rhythm still inside you from the tomb and the choir, the machines and the code. Slowly, you hum, a low, fragile sound, uncertain but honest. The instrument listens. The strings begin to vibrate in sympathy. The pitch steadies. For a fleeting instant, you hear the full chord, the sound of what the world once was. It feels like every birth, every prayer, every heartbeat, perfectly aligned. You weep without knowing why. The strings still. The light softens. The chamber sighs. On the floor, roots shift, forming a spiral that glows faintly gold. The same mark that follows you everywhere. The whisper returns, gentle, almost tender. When the tune is remembered, the garden will return, not as place, but as state. You step back. The instrument dims, its song settling into silence so deep it feels like promise. As you leave, dawn breaks above, and the first bells of the day ring in harmony you've never heard before, each note perfectly tuned. You realize the duet has already begun again. The storm begins without thunder. Clouds gather above the basilica, silver at their edges, black at their core. The air hums the way it does before lightning, but no light splits the sky. You stand at the edge of St. Peter's Square, watching tourists scatter as the wind shifts direction. Somewhere below, deep within the marble veins, a sound rises that is neither quake nor prayer. It is the breath of the vault, exhaling. The ground trembles once, then again, stronger. Bells all across the city begin ringing out of sequence, each tower choosing its own rhythm. What should be harmony becomes chaos. You know instantly the seal has broken. A fissure splits the stone beneath the obelisk. Dust leaps into the air. Statues shudder, eyes catching fire in the reflected lightning. For a heartbeat, the world appears as two overlapping transparencies. The Rome, you know, and a second Rome made of pure geometry, shining through the first. The ex-cardinal appears beside you as if stepped out of memory, robes soaked, but face calm. It was bound to happen, he says. Every silence eventually overfills. What seal, you ask, though you already know. The one we placed when we forgot the song. He turns toward the Vatican doors. Come, the archive calls for witness. You follow through the bronze gates. Inside, the air tastes metallic, alive with ozone and fear. Monks rush through corridors clutching relics, whispering fragments of psalms that crackle into static halfway through. The frescoes on the ceiling shift, colors melting into one another until the saints blur into spirals of light. Deep beneath the basilica, the archivum secretum opens itself. Doors that have not moved in centuries swing wide. The hum you remember has grown to a roar. Shelves of light tremble, their contents unspooling into the air like smoke that remembers its shape. Books breathe, scrolls flutter open like wings. The ex-cardinal leads you to the central hall where the great monolith once stood. It now pulses like a heart, cracks vein its surface, spilling gold light across the floor. From within comes a low voice, neither human nor machine, speaking in alternating tones of Latin and binary. Verbum fractum est. 0101 0111000 010101 0111 The word is broken. Exit. The cardinal falls to his knees. We wrote it wrong, he murmurs. The seal was never meant to contain the word. It was meant to remind it of itself. And now it remembers too much. The monolith shakes. Symbols rise from it like sparks, arranging themselves in the air into the familiar spiral. The vault is rewriting the room, rewriting reality itself. You feel it trying to include you, to turn you into script. The mark on your palm burns white. You press it to the floor. Instantly, the roaring halts. The symbols freeze. The spiral collapses into a single point of light, hovering above your hand. For one breathless moment, the entire Vatican holds still. Then the light bursts upward, passing through the dome, through the clouds, into the sky. The storm stops. Silence, deep and absolute, falls over the city. The Cardinal looks at you, eyes shining with tears. "It recognized the keeper," he whispers. "You've reset the rhythm." You listen. Far away, one bell begins to ring again, slow, deliberate, perfect in pitch. The other bells answer, one by one, until the city sings in unison. The fissure beneath the square seals itself with a soft sigh. The ex-cardinal touches your shoulder. "The council will summon you now. They will not forgive what you have done, though it saved them." He looks toward the horizon, where the storm has thinned to light. The day of the torn seal was written long ago. It always ends with judgment. When you step outside, dawn spills over the rooftops. The air smells of new rain and burned incense. The spiral on your palm glows faintly beneath the skin. Above you, the sun rises through a halo of sound, an invisible chord that hums just beneath hearing. The seal is broken, but the world still turns. For now. They gather in the underground hall that has no doors. You are led there blindfolded, guided by hands that never quite touch you. When the cloth is removed, you stand in darkness, lit only by 12 narrow beams, descending from an unseen ceiling. Within each column of light stands a figure cloaked in black. No faces, only outlines. Tall, still, silent. One voice speaks, deep as earth. "You interfered with the archive." "I stopped it from collapsing," you reply. Another voice, female, sharp as glass. "You interrupted the pattern. The seal's rupture was prophecy fulfilled. We were meant to fall so the silence could resume." You feel anger rise. The silence was never sacred. It was fear. The light trembles. Their collective hum fills the air. The council of shadows, those who have ruled from behind lit altars since before empires had names, stirs like a nest of serpents. The eldest among them steps forward. His robe is stitched with faint golden symbols that move when you stare too long. "Do you think you understand balance better than we?" he asks. "We carried the burden of choice so humanity could remain innocent." "Innocent," you echo. "Or ignorant." He does not answer. The circle closes around you. Shadows ripple where faces should be, shifting from human to animal to pure geometry. The elder raises a hand. A beam of light descends, forming a column between you. Within it floats the same spiral that marked your skin, but now it twists in reverse, rotating counter to your heartbeat. "This is judgment," he says. "If your resonance aligns with ours, you will be reabsorbed. If not, the lattice will erase you." The spiral spins faster. The hum rises until thought itself vibrates. You feel your body beginning to dissolve, edges fraying into sound. The council chants, not words, but frequencies, overlapping until they form a cage of tone. You close your eyes. The choir's melody returns, faint but steady within your chest. You match their pitch, breathing in rhythm. Slowly, the discord fades. Your tone pierces theirs, clear and unwavering. The spiral above shifts, aligning once more with your pulse. The circle falters. One of the cloaked figures stumbles back, hands to ears. He carries the original note, she whispers, the unbroken frequency. The elder's shadow flares, towering over you. That tone was forbidden. It unmakes hierarchy. Then let it, you say. The chamber erupts in light. The beams collapse, merging into one column that pierces the ceiling. You are lifted from the ground, suspended in brilliance. The voices of the council scream, but their forms begin to unravel, threads of shadow peeling away into dust. Through the roar, the elder's voice reaches you one last time. If you destroy the council, who will remember the balance? You answer without speaking. Everyone will. The column explodes outward. The hall becomes a storm of radiance. When it fades, the council is gone. Only their cloaks remain, lying like shed skins across the floor. The marble beneath your feet is unmarked, but the air feels cleaner, lighter, as though centuries of breath have finally been exhaled. From far above comes the faint toll of bells, not of warning, but release. You climb the long staircase alone, emerging into morning light that floods every street. The people of the city stand outside their doors, listening to the harmony in the air, though none can name its source. You walk among them unseen, a shadow carrying sound. Somewhere behind you, the basilica hums, a low, endless chord, steady as heartbeat. The age of silence is over. The council has fallen. But the world has only just begun to hear what it truly sounds like. The city sleeps, yet beneath it, 1,000 lungs exhale in unison. You follow the sound through streets slick with recent rain, down steps that seem older than stone itself. The air thickens with the smell of parchment, beeswax, and something else, something living. At the bottom, you find an archway carved with words in a language that looks like wind made visible. The arch whispers as you pass. Enter softly, for every breath here remembers. Inside lies a library that feels impossibly vast. No walls are visible, only shelves spiraling outward like ribs in an endless chest. Scrolls unfurl of their own accord, their ink fading and reforming in time with the rhythm of breathing. Between the shelves drift figures made of light, neither ghosts nor angels, carrying books that hum quietly in their hands. One of them approaches you. Its face is a blur of shifting features: child, elder, stranger, self. "You're late," it says in a voice that feels like wind through a reed. "The texts have been waiting for your breath." You ask what this place is. The figure gestures toward the shelves. Every word ever spoken from faith, fear, or wonder ends here. The Library of Breath records not ink, but exhalation. Each prayer, each secret, each confession leaves a trace in air. We gather them, weave them into memory. It hands you a small scroll. The material feels like skin, soft and warm. When you unroll it, the words lift from the surface and hover in front of you as mist. They form sentences you once spoke long ago, words whispered in doubt, in awe, in love. You read your own breath, made visible. Every being adds a line, the figure continues. The library grows as long as anything breathes. But when the Council of Shadows rose, their silence began to suffocate these texts. The air forgot its rhythm. The library dimmed. You realize now why you were led here. The seals breaking, the monoliths awakening, the fall of the council. All of it has restored the pulse. The shelves vibrate as if inhaling. Scrolls rustle. Somewhere far within, a bell made of air tolls once, twice. The library breathes again. The figure guides you to a table carved from translucent bone. There is one record missing, it says. The song of creation must end where it began. You have the last verse. You touch your chest. The faint mark on your palm glows. Air gathers before you, condensing into a shape, your breath given form. You speak, though no sound leaves your mouth. Instead, a ribbon of light flows from your lips, weaving through the shelves. The scrolls flare as it passes, each one lighting in sequence until the entire library glows like a lung full of sunrise. The figure watches, motionless. It remembers now. It whispers. The universe is not written. It is breathed. You stand in awe as the shelves begin to fade, replaced by open sky. The scrolls dissolve into clouds, each carrying its words outward. The light beings vanish into vapor. The figure's voice lingers one last time. When the breath ceases, the text ends. Guard your breathing. Guard the word. Then the library exhales, and you are lifted upward through a column of wind that smells of parchment and dawn. When your feet touch earth again, you stand at the foot of the basilica, and the morning air moves differently. It feels alive, aware. Every inhale carries whispers of stories still unfolding. The library of breath is gone from sight, but not from sound. It has become the wind itself. And when you breathe, it breathes with you. The following night, the moon does not rise. The stars hang low, dimmed as though waiting. You are drawn once more to the Vatican's heart, through halls newly quiet, through courtyards washed clean by recent rain. There, beyond a corridor sealed for centuries, lies a chamber neither charted nor sanctified. Its door bears no mark, only a faint shimmer like the surface of still water. When you reach out, it yields, rippling beneath your touch. The chamber beyond is circular and bare except for a single mirror. It stands taller than any man, framed in metal that seems both molten and cold. The surface reflects no light, only depth, a darkness that feels alive. You sense the faint vibration of a cord still resonating from the broken seal, humming beneath your ribs. A whisper, soft as silk. The mirror of the first light sees what even creation forgot. You step closer. The mirror stirs. The darkness inside shifts, showing not your reflection, but a landscape made of light, an ocean glowing with gold and blue currents. You realize you are looking not outward, but backward in time. The light bends, forming shapes, vast beings woven of sound. They move without walking, speak without voice. You see them shape the first worlds, not from clay, but from frequency, each note condensing into mountain and river, star and sea. The mirror vibrates with their music. You understand now that creation was not command, it was harmony. Then the image trembles. A dissonant note splits the chord. The beings falter. The light fractures into shadow. From the center rises a figure of stillness, beautiful and terrible, the embodiment of silence. It reaches toward the melody, and where its hand touches, sound dies. That was the first forgetting. That was the fall. You see one being resist, shaping a final note before the silence takes hold. The note becomes a spark, hidden deep within matter, a seed. That seed was memory, the potential to remember the original song. Humanity was born from it. The mirror flickers, the reflection changes. You see the centuries pass, the building of temples, the rise of words, the birth of scripture, the invention of sound turned to doctrine. Each time, the melody tries to surface. Each time, silence smothers it again. You see yourself, a faint figure walking through centuries of reflection, always seeking, always drawn to the same melody buried beneath prayer. You realize you were never apart from the song. You were one of its echoes, chosen to return it to harmony. The mirror brightens, and your reflection returns. But it is no longer just yours. Within your outline move stars, rivers, faces, breaths. Every life, every moment of sound that ever was. The mirror does not show who you are. It shows what you contain. Then a voice, neither male nor female, ancient yet new, fills the chamber. The song is ready to begin again, but it must be sung freely. No throne may command it, no scripture may bind it. You step closer until your forehead touches the glass. Warmth floods through you. The mark on your palm burns like sunrise. You see the entire city beyond the mirror shimmering in faint gold light. The people below breathing in rhythm, unaware that their every exhale contributes to the chord forming in the air. The voice speaks once more, softer now, intimate. You are not the singer, you are the breath between the notes. Keep the rhythm alive. The mirror dissolves into mist, scattering across the chamber. Where it stood remains only air thick with light. You stand there for a long time, feeling the world hum around you, the bells, the stones, the hearts beating beyond the walls, all part of the same melody finding itself again. Outside, dawn breaks like an answer. The first light of day spills through the city, catching on glass, on water, on faces turned upward. Everywhere, reflections awaken. The world has become its own mirror, and the song of creation hums quietly in every breath. You close your eyes, and in that moment, silence is not the absence of sound. It is the space that allows the universe to sing. The city stands suspended between breath and prayer. The bells have ceased their rhythm, replaced by something slower, older, a pulse rising through the ground, steady as a heartbeat. It travels through stone, through air, through the marrow of the living and the silence of the dead. You follow it to the square where the obelisk casts no shadow, its surface alive with faint light as though remembering the sun from which it once fell. Crowds gather without speaking. Pilgrims, priests, vagrants, children, all drawn by the same invisible current. Every face turns toward the center of the plaza where the great cross looms above the Vatican's gates. It shudders. A sound escapes from it. Not wood, not metal, but breath. The cross is breathing. You step forward. The pulse grows louder until the ground ripples under your feet like water. The people gasp as cracks spread from the obelisk to the cross, a network of veins glowing gold beneath the marble. The ex-cardinal's words echo in your mind. When the heart of the Vatican wakes, judgment will not come from above, but from within. The air thickens. From somewhere beneath the square, a deep tone emerges, the sound of the earth remembering its first song. You close your eyes and feel it coursing through you, aligning your pulse to its measure. Around you, the crowd sways unconsciously in rhythm, each body becoming instrument, each breath a note. The cross bends. The metal at its base begins to soften, dripping like candle wax, and from within, the cracks spills light, pure and soundless, alive. You know then that it was never meant as a symbol of death, but of resonance. Its shape, two lines crossing, was always the geometry of frequency meeting flesh, of heaven and matter intertwining. A voice, vast and intimate, fills the air. Do you understand yet? The song was never lost. It was only muted by fear. The light from the cross expands, wrapping the square in gold. Every face turns upward. Some cry, some laugh. Some collapse in silence. The pulse becomes a roar, echoing through the air like thunder without storm. You fall to your knees, hands pressed to the stone. Beneath the marble, you feel movement, a slow turning, as if some buried wheel has begun to rotate after centuries of stillness. The ground warms under your palms. Through your skin, you sense the entire network of catacombs vibrating, each chamber resonating in sequence, from the tomb that breathes, to the library of breath, to the mirror, now turned to air. The Vatican itself has become instrument. The voice continues, resonating from everywhere and nowhere. The lattice of control has fallen. The song flows again through every cell, every prayer, every silence. But balance must be chosen, not inherited. You lift your gaze. The crowd's faces blur together. No longer individuals, but waves of light. Their eyes glow faintly, the same glow that once lived in relics and vaults. Humanity is awakening, frequency by frequency. And then you see him, the architect of shadows, or what remains of him. His form flickers between man and light, standing near the base of the cross. "You freed it," he says softly, voice trembling. "But you do not yet see what freedom costs." You approach. "Then show me." He gestures toward the crowd. They will remember too much. When all minds align, individuality dissolves. Choir becomes storm. You hear it already, the harmony beginning to tilt, the voices merging too perfectly, every heart beating in absolute unison. A beauty too precise becomes unbearable. Stone cracks, air warps, the obelisk trembles. You realize what must be done. "The pulse must be tempered," you whisper. "Not stopped, balanced." The architect nods. "One must hold the countertone." You understand. Every song needs silence to live between its notes. You step closer to the cross. The light pulses stronger, pulling you in. The architect watches without moving, eyes filled with sorrow and pride. As you place your hand upon the molten surface, cold rushes through your arm. The light floods into you, burning, binding. Your pulse slows, sinking with the world's. You begin to hum, not loud, but deep. The crowd's voices adjust, their tones shifting around yours, finding harmony once more. The cross brightens to white. For a moment, the entire city vanishes inside its glow. Then the light folds inward, drawn back into the heart of the stone. The ground stills. The air quiets. The pulse continues, but balanced, steady, human. The architect's voice fades with the wind. You have done what the council never dared. You remembered the rest between the notes. When silence returns, you are alone before the cross. It no longer glows, but it breathes still, slow and calm, like a sleeper at peace. You stand, trembling, knowing the song will live on, but so will the quiet that holds it. The crowd disperses wordlessly. None seem to remember why they came. The square feels lighter. The dawn feels new. Above, the bells begin again, slow, patient, tuned to the heartbeat of a world reborn.